is The Art of Wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana. It's Colt Cabana.
All right, come on in, sit down, relax, put in those tweaked audio earbuds because you're about to listen to The Art of Wrestling, a professional wrestling podcast, a life podcast, a personal journey, an entryway into the minds, souls, hearts, and lives of people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I'm your host for today. My name is CM Punk. I am a tattooed motherfucker, as Cabana likes to say, a pirate that's married to the sea, sometimes a jerk, but a lovable one. But most importantly, I am a professional wrestler. And we're coming to you not necessarily live from the studio apartment, but we're here live today in Hell House. Before we go any further, the show is fan-supported and listener-supported by the people just like you and me, and we give it to you free of charge every single Thursday on WeLoveColt.com and iTunes. Please subscribe on iTunes as it comes automatically every week. I am lazy and I have yet to do that. But if you do want to support, you can. Leave a review on iTunes, maybe tell a friend, tell your mother. If your sister is good-looking, let me know about her. Wear Colt shirts on Monday Night Raw. I've done it. You should too. Or if you got a couple of bucks and you want to support monetarily, head over to ColtMerch.com. Colt says his T-shirts, his buttons, his pictures, I'm sure my pictures, my used underwear, posters, DVDs, condoms, much, much more. He truly does appreciate every purchase made over at ColtMerch.com. The guest this week is Colt Cabana. Weird, you might say, because this is his podcast and he's normally interviewing people. And I think he even interviewed me one time almost 2 years ago. But it's the 100th episode, and I approached Colt Cabana a while ago, I think. And I said, hey, wouldn't it be funny if the 100th episode you got interviewed by me and we could ask you questions about your life and divulge into your soul and your hearts and your mind, because you're involved in the world of pro wrestling. And he apparently thought it was a good idea because he's letting me do this. And I'm not sure I'm as good as MC as Colt Cabana, but if anybody's going to do this, it's probably me. I've known him, I think, the longest in this wacky world of professional wrestling. And I remember meeting him for the first time and him wearing his Doug Collins basketball shirt, which I thought he only had one of. So I thought we would get along because he wore the same shirt every day. But it turns out he just had multiple shirts, and I was the only dirty one wearing the same shirt every day. But anyway, I digress. Colt Cabana is a true pioneer of professional wrestling, if you ask me. Everyone's always telling me, hey, get your buddy Colt a job. And I tell them the same thing. I would love to, and maybe he would love it too, but he's not in the market for a job because he has his own thing, and he built it from the ground up. And I think he's so hands-on with it, and he treats his fans so well that, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to see him get lost in the shuffle doing what I do or working where I do, but he's doing fine on his own. He doesn't need my help. God, I'm terrible at this, everybody. I really am. So we're going to get right to it. My monologue has completely sucked. I'm more nervous right now than I was at WrestleMania. Thank you.
The guy who's the stickmaster.
Terrible.
Creative has nothing. Creative has nothing. Creative has nothing for you.
Hey, Creative.
Hey, what's up, Colt?
You got anything for me today?
Could you just do me a huge favor and just kind of stand in the corner?
Stand in the corner?
Or sit, just kind of, if I can get you out of the way a little bit?
Marty, this is our day. We're supposed to talk about my future plans.
I know, we'll get into all that in a little bit. I just gotta think I gotta take care of first.
What's more important than my future?
If you could just stand in the corner, I'll take care of something else, then I'll be right with you.
What do you have?
Okay, the man is coming in.
There's a man coming in?
The man, not just a man. You're a man. The man is coming in.
More important than me?
Well, right now, yeah, but then I'll be right with you. Your second priority.
Yeah, I'm looking for Jerry. Is it Jerry DeRosa?
Marty, it's me, Marty, right here, sir.
Yeah, you know who I am, right?
Oh, yeah, big fan.
Big fan, right? I got a couple of things I got to sort out.
Absolutely, you just running by me.
Not going to fuck this up, are you?
No, not at all, not at all.
All right, I'm the face of the company?
Yep.
Every pay-per-view, I'm on them, correct?
Absolutely.
Right answer. Every show, I'm on them, right?
Only the ones you want to do.
I don't lose, right?
Never.
You see the new action figure?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Well, what's wrong with it?
The bulge. Not big enough.
Okay, I'll make a note of
You
that.
ever seen my cock?
It's
gigantic. Another thing. I want to take this in a whole new direction here. I want to fuck all the divas.
Yeah, I mean, I can, put in a good word for you and maybe promise them some pushes and stuff if they hook up with you.
No, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I want to literally fuck them in the ring on TV. What do we got here?
Hey, Super Domino.
You come to these things dressed in your fucking spandex, asshole? I'm out of here.
Wow, looks like you're a real big fan of his, aren't you?
He's so cool. See his package? It's huge.
The song of this week is a special project Colt has been compiling. Pretty soon, he'll be putting out a premium deal where he sat down with a bunch of past guests and they did some more audio. Here's a clip from one of them. It's Freight Train, everybody's favorite, singing "Come On Ride That Train." Enjoy, and we'll be back with Colt Cabana.
Doom 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 do 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 do. Come on, ride that train, Tootsie ride. Come on, ride that train, Tootsie ride. Come on, ride that train, Tootsie ride. Doom doom do 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 doom doom do 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 doom doom do 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 do. Lay a DJ style on my ready day. It's your arm out you now to come a corner DJ. So what you do to new to thank you Tim us ride to train. Come on so to roll Miss Thomas did over the lab DJ. I rip me spamming out don't try to choo choo. They go me choo choo. It ain't do me she mama did you me gonna be. I take you on no queen. So help me to train.
Hey, hey, hey. I don't know why I said that. I figured it'd be a good way to lead in to the 100th episode of The Art of Wrestling. I am your host.
Wait, hold on.
What?
We'll do all that stuff.
Oh, we're doing that.
We're just doing welcome back to the podcast.
Right. This is the interview part.
Okay.
I was still being a good host.
Oh, sorry. I'm the worst.
You are.
I don't know what to do.
You figured you would have figured this out in
It's like Will Ferrell.
100 episodes of your podcast.
It's like Will Ferrell when he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do with myself.
You know me, and I don't know anything about Will
Oh, sorry.
Ferrell. Yeah.
It's like that one guy with the crazy hair that we saw that one time in the movie theater.
Right.
You remember seeing that? We all saw it with
me,
Joe.
You, Pierce. Was it Pierce? And we walked out of the theater and saw Jasmine St.
Yes.
Clair and Blue Meanie.
We put our hands out.
And we all popped and looked the other way. Sorry, Meanie.
Yeah.
It wasn't you. It was your company.
Yeah, hi.
Oh, hi. All right. So this is the first time somebody's actually interviewed you for this thing. And I want to tell you, I love high-pressure situations. I've been saying that a lot. I don't get nervous at WrestleMania. I don't get nervous at SummerSlam. I don't get nervous doing Jimmy Fallon. I'm sort of nervous doing this.
Wow.
I'm such a huge fan. I know so many people who listen to your podcast on a weekly basis, and this to me is this is bigger than WrestleMania.
Stop it.
I'm serious.
You're an idiot.
No, I'm serious. Because I really went out of my way to not think about this. So it's more conversational, like all your podcasts, and I really want it to be as entertaining as a lot of them. So,
Did you not think about? So all you did was think about WrestleMania then?
I purposely ignored you for the past I don't know however many months. We decided.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a
figured
bit.
this would be a good idea. Yeah, I haven't been home. But this isn't about me. This is about you, and I want to talk about your career, actually, or your life,
Or my life,
and
yeah.
your. I want to. It's a life podcast. It's a window into the hearts and the minds and the souls of professional wrestlers.
You know, when I did the live show in England, and I don't know. I get the idea to that. Repetition is important.
Yeah, it is.
And-
It is what?
It's important,
It's important.
isn't it? No,
It is. But I
think
just
so.
love the way you said important.
Well, I think in a
Say it again.
It's important. Thanks, Dick. And but yeah, and I don't know, and that's like my marketing brain going through it is that's the repetition is get that going so people they identify, they know what they're getting into each week. And when I did the live show in London, I did a live podcast, and they all started saying with me,
Yeah.
it's a live podcast, it's a personal journal.
It's comforting. It's familiar to people. It's the I'll duck one. I'll hit you with 2 shoulder blocks. Swing at me. I'll hit you with a slam. I'll raise my hand
I know
in the
this
air.
one. You can't
see me. 5 knuckle shuffle.
I like the. I really like the way he does the fist drop. I think it's kind of cool.
Well, that's the business we're in, though. It is repetition. You know, it's the Pavlovian response. The fans, you ring a bell, and then the dogs know it's dinner time.
But I have a feeling that people, I do get worried that people are like,
we're starting over.
no, we're not.
I know, but I'm saying we just had a technical difficulty because I'm completely inept when it comes to technology. But anyway, you're saying you're in England? I said something about Pavlov's dogs, which might throw you for a loop.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I lost myself. I said I like something somewhere.
Right, you're in England, and it's you said you like the 5 knuckle shuffle.
Oh, I do. But I get worried that the people will get turned off by the fact that they hear the same thing every day.
No, we love it.
Okay.
I'm speaking for the people right now. I'm telling you right now, like, we love it. You don't understand the amount of personnel that wander the halls of TV, bored out of our minds, reciting the same thing over and over again. Like podcast.
Right, well, hey, I try to have my catchphrases right.
Absolutely.
It'll turn into merchandise.
Speaking of John Cena, huge fan of Matt Classic.
He says this, but I don't.
And I want to talk about this. I want to talk about cold as ice John Cena. Has this ever been brought up in any of the podcasts?
No, I wouldn't dare. I don't think.
We're talking about it.
Yeah, well, if you want to bring it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think you're wrong.
And I know I'm wrong. But I don't know I'm wrong because I've seen the way John acts towards me now. But the way I think of it is because I know this, that he's like, holy shit, Punk is cool as shit. And this is the Punk that I've known forever. And it probably took him a long time to know the Punk that I've known, but to finally get in the ring and be like, oh shit, this guy loves wrestling and whatever. And eventually I know that he now sees the awesome Punk as opposed to the dickhead Punk that he probably thought he was. Right?
All right, so what's the backstory? Yeah, I just remember hearing about this, and obviously I wasn't there because I think I was on Raw at the time?
Yeah, we never ran into each other.
No, I don't think I ever saw you on TV because you got called up and you were on SmackDown. So anytime you saw, all I would hear about is anytime you saw John Cena, he would just be like staring at you.
Yeah,
like
he hated me,
like 1,000-yard.
Me and Sterling James Keenan, he hated whole death. And so, but now, he came up to me right away. But after all the stuff with you, in my mind, he's like, oh shit, Punk's the man. Well, if this guy is his buddy, obviously he's cool as shit. And he's been nothing but cordial. And he helped me get me that dark match when I wrestled Wade Barrett and we tried to do that stuff. But beforehand, ever since I was an extra, when I was doing all this extra stuff, and you know it, and I hate it the worst, and that's why I kind of enjoy where I'm at now, is that I don't even have to do this stuff where I have to, hello, sir, oh my, and I did it, and you probably did it too.
Yeah, absolutely, everybody does.
And it's the fucking most frightening, and John, he's the fucking king, and even though we're probably the same age, and we probably had the same childhood growing up, except I didn't lift as much weight as he did.
Right.
You go up to him and you're like, hi, and you just feel that he's got a death stare towards you.
Yeah, I had the same experience. Well, not the same experience, but with the whole, hi, my name, hi, I'm Phil, or hi, I'm Punk. Hello, how you doing? And then after a while, Batista looked at me and he goes, I know who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Stop introducing yourself to me. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know. I don't know if you're going to remember who I am. And
I've said that.
And God forbid, in the wacky world of professional wrestling, somebody's going to, that person didn't say hello to me.
Yeah. And I've said that to people. It's like, come on, I know who you are.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like I've been in that same situation. So that's a weird one to always dangle on. And I once watched, I don't think I ever told this story. I once watched John Cena get a haircut.
Penitentiary fades?
It was in Milwaukee. It was in the Bradley Center. I was doing something. I was walking. He was out alone, and this guy was trimming up. And I was like, "Oh, me and him alone. I could say something cool." And I was like, getting the old high and tight. And he fucking stared a death ray into me. And I was like, "How is the high and tight not good?" And ever since that, and then. I'm just, and me and Sterling James Keenan, who was doing extra work at the time, who's now signed Corey Graves, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's in FCW. Both of us were an extra a million times.
Right.
And he was like, I get the same. We would share our stories of I think Cena wants to beat the living and I'm sure probably not, didn't have a clue. I don't know. In my mind, he did. He wanted to fucking kill me.
Yeah.
And then when I was signed up, I remember this vividly. is like I hadn't said hi to Cena, and he was sitting at the fucking desk, and me and Gallows and Hawkins and Ryder were like hanging out, having fun, being buds, like fucking around and like showing our real personalities of who we are. And I was like, oh fuck, I gotta say hi to Cena. And they're like,
dun, dun, dun.
yeah. And they're like, they all watch as I go around the ring. And I was like, hello, Mr. Cena. And like, he fucking puts his hands out and has like the meanest expression on his face of just like, who the fuck or what the fuck? And it's probably all in my head, but those guys saw it over at the ring, and I shake his hand, and I come back, and they all start laughing, and we all, and that's the memory I have, is that me and my friends, we have a good time about it.
We're gonna have to get to the bottom of this.
Well, I'm sure he has no clue, but I'm sure it's in our head.
We'll find out. We're gonna have to get John Cena on the Art of Wrestling. Is what we're gonna do.
That we'll talk. We'll really get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
But and I'm sure he's had a million of those scenarios, and he's met a million people. But it's funny is that's a memory for me. Is me and my friends laughing at how much this guy probably hates me.
Huge fan. I remember when you wrestled Lawler. It's all we talked about. Like, and here's me and him, I suppose number one and number two, respectively in the company. And we're running around and people are handing us scripts and we're, you got to go shoot this pre-tape. And we're just talking to Lawler about wrestling Matt Clad. So what was it like? It was awesome.
That was a fun match. I had Lawler laughing, and it's like, it's at this point in my life or career or whatever, what was great for me is to go in there with Jerry Lawler and just not care,
right?
And that's when the best matches I'm sure come out. Is, I mean, you remember when I wrestled Jerry Lynn that first time?
Yep.
And I was like pissing my pants and I was going over everything, and like those were the most important matches. Is you get to wrestle that name, but now it's like that's the fucking god of Memphis wrestling, has probably invented so many tricks and trades in the world of wrestling that are used today in every facet of television wrestling. But this is, he did this in fucking Memphis in the territories when, that shit wasn't even to that global audience. It was just to that little town. And I was like, I'm just going to go and have fun. And I start cracking jokes and I'm making...
He loved it. He loved it.
And I think he had a good time. And he was like...
Lawler loved it. Yeah,
Lawler was like, we need stuff like this. We don't see it anymore. He's like, I'm going right to Vince. And then as a wrestler, it's hard to
go to Vince.
Oh, man. And like everyone around me, like, whoa, you're gonna get signed. I was like, no, I'm not. But it's nice to know that he's in. And that one time, when after you said that promo and I had a meeting with Johnny and I was there to do a dark match, and John was like, that was when I was like, all right, maybe this guy isn't cold as ice, or maybe he doesn't hate my guts. And he was like, I'm a huge fan of Matt Classic. He's like, tell me everything you're doing. And I was like, oh, I can write it down, but you're probably not gonna care. But the reality is he's helped Ryder, along with yourself, right. And obviously he's watching. And now I see he's helping. It looks like he's helping Trent Beretta.
I don't think anybody cares as much as Cena. Cena cares about the WWE so much, but
and what I like is that he cares about the young guys, that the Office and myself, and I was in this position, that the Office I don't think really cares about, because they're probably worried about if those top guys are happy. But it's nice to see that top guy, and I just seen him on Twitter recently with Trent. And it's like, I know how great Trent is, and I'm sure you know how great Trent is, but not as much as I spent 2 years with him.
Well, Trent's an undercover guy, sort of like how Gallows was. Gallows on TV is 100% different than Gallows on the street, and I think Trent's the same way. Like, if there's some way to harness the Trent that we know or the Gallows we know and put that on TV, gangbusters, money, print money. So everybody knows the fun-loving Colt Cabana, and you are predominantly. I mean, you're not a bad guy anywhere. When's the last time you were a bad guy?
In wrestling or life?
In life, I'm sure you have a great story about fifth grade, but I want to talk about wrestling, bad guy wrestling.
As a heel, yeah. Well, it's a strategy to be a babyface, because of my life and how I need to live.
You're a hustler. You have 3 tables you travel with, and you're constantly selling your wares and your goods. And I don't think anybody hustles as hard as you do. So obviously you want people to like you, because if you were out there saying, if if America, needed an enema, we'd stick the nozzle here in Cleveland, Ohio.
Or any of
Boo,
the
nobody-
Dominion.
Yeah, the 5-year-olds don't want your T-shirt. They won't want the headbands. They're not going to buy the mittens or anything else you've crocheted recently. I get that. I don't think people. I remember traveling the roads with you and Chucky Smooth and Dave Prazak and doing Carmine's and doing Ian's and going all over Hell and Creation, and you were never ever a bad guy. It was like, or when you were like this weird, like cocky, so cold you could freeze vodka, smooth, like smooth cat, like. And I remember this blew my mind. I think Ian's big idea was to turn you heel simply because it just was probably a bad idea. So I think
it was my idea.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Man, you went AWOL. Yeah. I'd never seen anything like this. Like fun loving Cabana that I knew. You started to rape a girl in the like you went from 0 to 60. It was just like, whoa, where did that come from?
I raped a girl.
You did.
Yeah.
You really did. It was what was her name?
Nadia Nice.
I wanted to call her Zuzu's Petals because that's what we wanted to name her.
We just watched I've been watching Dice. So the Brain Smasher? No, Ford Fairlane.
This is also funny, too, because you think Zuzu's Petals is from Ford Fairlane.
Yeah, 100%.
When, in fact, it's from It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love it.
And I always thought, and you probably told me that, but I was Petals is the greatest
Yeah, I
name.
remember we got into an argument about it.
It's from Dice.
Yeah,
It's
you're like,
amazing.
it's from Ford Fairlane. I go, no, it's not. I've never seen Ford Fairlane. It's from It's a Wonderful Life. And you're like, I've never seen It's a Wonderful Life. I go, how have you never seen that?
And I'm like, how have you never seen Ford Fairlane?
Right.
It's amazing.
And that's our relationship in a nutshell.
I do the Officer Colt Cabana now.
Right.
Which I think is like in a hipster way, it's like so bizarre to see me, because you said I haven't been a heel in so long, to be a heel, that it's so fun. And that I do believe like that's kind of like wrestling has really turned around in that way of like people know, well, that's fun, Colt Cabana.
It's like
playing.
wink, nudge, nudge, we're in on it.
And that would have happened 20 years ago or whatever.
No.
So I think that's kind of like, I don't know if that's for good or bad. It's good for me because I see that as like I'm an actor playing the part of Officer Colt, which is funny because I'm an actor playing the part of Colt Cabana in real life.
Is that what, yeah, okay, so that's how you feel about it? Because I honestly, I know you. I don't really think there's
in name.
a huge difference.
I
between,
don't think there is.
You're a goofy dude. You love fun. You go into the ring. You're a goofy dude who loves fun. So I don't see you really playing a role. I definitely see you playing a role as Officer Colt Cabana or Crazy Cabana the Rapist.
So the Cabana the Rapist was, and here it was. We always went down to Ian's, and it was always like Punka Cabana, and like the politics of it never had settled in, or never. To me at that point it was all fun, and like all I thought about was learning wrestling and loving wrestling.
Right.
And I remember he got a real big hard on for you and wanted to push you, and Hero and BJ, and he had all these plans for everybody except me, and out of saltiness, I was like, well, I'm not going to be like the seventh baby face. Fuck this. And I was like, I'm just going to do whatever the fuck I want. And that's even though I was raping people, that whole part of my career was where I realized where the comedy part and my character and who I evolved into, let's say if that was 2003 or 2004, almost 10 years later, was where I realized that that's what it's all about, because I was having so much fun, because I was like, I don't give a fuck, I'm doing whatever, I'm turning heel, I'm being an asshole, and that was so much fun to me that I realized that you have to go in there and you have to have fun and you have to do what you like. And that, the Ian Rotten, that was like the last of the Mid-South region and stuff that because we were trained Memphis style. Danny and Ace came from Sam, and Sam, DeCero ran Windy City Wrestling, and Windy City Wrestling was an offshoot of basically Memphis Wrestling, everyone who had come up to Chicago, and those guys had all come up from Memphis. So we were trained in the way of Memphis Wrestling. I always say that.
Which nobody knows, by the way.
Yeah, and especially a day and age where our era was the high spot, flippy, SAT era, we were still trained normal.
The basics.
Yeah, we adapted. We just adapted. And so the fact that I could go down to the quote-unquote last dying Memphis area and do that, that was fun to me. And there was no internet and nobody judging us. And, like, you just do whatever the fuck you want and rape girls and just shit on people. And get
I just love the thought process of, oh, I'm a bad guy now. I got to do something really bad. I know I'm going to rape this girl.
Yeah, and remember I sat in Old Man Charlie's seat?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So there was an old guy in IWA, and he came this was the thing of IWA. This guy came every week. He was probably 98 years old or something. His name was Old Man Charlie.
He was 160. All right.
He had a specific seat, and he came to every single show, and he passed away. And, you know, Ian and those guys always did so much weird shit, and they always I never understood this, but they would always, like, shoot on each other and, like, talk about, like, fucking each other's girlfriends in the ring when it actually happened.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was weird, but that always they always let it pass because it was just wrestling, I guess.
His business, brother.
Yeah, and I never was down with that, but I realized everyone doing it. I was like, oh, I better do this too. So I was like, fuck it, and I sat in Old Man Charlie's chair, and I remember Patty, Ian Rotten's wife, was so pissed off.
Yep.
She came chasing at me, and I ran like a little bitch because I thought she was gonna fucking hurt me.
It was good heat.
Yeah, and that's what I was like. And I was like,
So to paint the picture, this is Ian Rotten, who they had a 10-bell salute for Princess Diana after she died. Which was unceremoniously interrupted by
I don't even remember that.
Dennis Coraluzzo. You know, can we have now please have a moment of silence for the beautiful Princess Diana, and the bell rings like maybe 3 times, and then in the back all you hear is, yo, fuck that bitch. So we can go ahead and desecrate the memory of Princess Diana. But I remember being spooked. We had a legitimate 10-bell salute for Old Man Charlie. Yeah. And I was just like, what? Really? Like, you'd never seen those deathmatch guys with scarred up heads and everything like that. Like, it was like a real deal for them. And like an Old Man Charlie, I don't think I knew the scope of the fan base until I got signed in 05. I was down in OVW, and I saw the same fans.
Yeah.
You know, like
those are the same fans that went to USWA.
I know, like, and they went to, you know, the Mid-South Coliseum and Louisville Gardens, like, you know, every Friday, you know, like, and if I would have known then that all those fans, you know, that Ian had were like such hardcore wrestling fans, because, you know, the perception honestly was that these were just probably some people who lived down the street,
right, yeah.
And they'd go to shows, but those people were at anything pro wrestling, and Ian started running down there, and they started going to Ian shows.
There was Donna,
and Donna still goes to OVW.
Who was Betsy?
She the one that corpse.
Yeah,
and her mom,
right.
Her mom, man,
and you know, and you watch those things with, you know, that's kind of. Some of those have hit viral. Me and you dancing, and the one with no microphone.
Backdoor Beezy.
Yeah, Backdoor Beezy was who we danced for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll leave it up to the listeners' discretion as to exactly why she was called Backdoor Beezy. Do you remember doing anything? And I guess this is a good follow up to the rape question. Do you remember doing anything in pro wrestling that you regret?
Well. It's funny that not regret. Like, you know, I had the meeting with Vince, and I don't. Sorry.
No,
yeah.
I'm multitasking.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know, you got it. This is the part of the podcast. I'm going to ream you on.
Are you going to ream me on it? I figured you. Dude, it's my life.
I know.
I'm sorry,
but you have to. It's about sitting down and conversing and looking the guys in the eye.
I was just sent a text for $19 two right-handed Suzy Koozie beer mitts for $58 with the American flag on them.
Well, that's important.
Don't ask me why. It's for my 4th of July party.
Okay.
That we're going to have, and that's
cool.
important. Okay, my phone has been thrown across the room. I apologize, listeners of the Art of Wrestling. I apologize to you, Colt Cabana. Please don't rape me.
I might tie to the ropes with athletic tape.
Did anybody try to save her? I remember.
Yeah, maybe Mean Mitch Page and Rolling Hard, but the time they got out there,
I was skull fractured, and I think that was the excuse. Like, I'm going to go in and do something, but I got a broken head, or I think we're going to have to dig up the footage of this.
My regrets. You know, So after I had the dark match with Wade Barrett, and they didn't sign me.
Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
All right.
No, it was in Kentucky, which I was a little upset by because they didn't let me do it in. He said I was going to have a dark match in Green Bay, which I thought was great because they're a great crowd. And then because you were gone, he was like, well, we can't have you in there if we don't know if Punk is
Right.
part of the.
I've quit the company.
Right. So I couldn't have it in the Midwest towns, and I was like, okay, we'll do it Monday in Indianapolis, which is still, I know the crowds that would like me and that wouldn't, and it didn't happen Monday, and then Tuesday was in Lexington, and Lexington I don't think is very smart. They're not.
There's just a big difference between Lexington and Louisville,
Right.
definitely.
Or even Lexington in like a New York or Chicago, where in the Garden where they were chanting my name, as opposed to Lexington where a couple people may or may not know who I am. Mm-hmm. But I did a promo, and Brawler brought me in the room, and Johnny was like, Vince wants to see a promo of you, and like I went back to old, and I think about it a lot sometimes. I went back to just the old, hey, I'm Colt Cabana, where let's have a good time, blah 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 blah. Where I thought in reality I should have not so much shoot, but MVP tells a great story of when he just looked in the camera and he was like, "Why the fuck haven't you hired me? What's wrong with you? You guys are idiot." Boom, 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 and he really spoke from the heart. And I felt like I put on a little bit of a shtick in the promo that I did, and I regret that a little bit. But for each regret, like. I am so grateful of what I've done and what I'm doing and how my life is, and that I can make a living for pro wrestling. So each regret I comes with a lesson, and I love that something came of it. And I say that even going back to doing college football is like in reality, I didn't want to do college football. I hate the fact that I did college football. I hated college football. Yeah, it was awful.
I did not know this about you.
It was one of the worst experiences of my life. It was awful. I hated it.
Wow.
But because of that, I felt it made me a better person and prepared me for life. My roommate prepared me to realize that people suck. You
met Matt Capitelli.
Yeah, well, and that came of it too. And so because of that, I became a better person out of it. And I think because even 13 years into a wrestling career, and I realized, fuck, I probably shouldn't have done that kind of promo. I think it's made me a better person. It's made me hungrier. It's made me, stronger. And so it's not a regret as in terms of, like, oh shit, my life sucks now. It's
no, because it certainly doesn't. But you learn from your experiences and you grow, and that's I think that's all we've ever done.
Yeah, And I do like. Body-wise is not like a big regret. I go back and forth on this so much.
What's that?
Dr. Tom was like, when I was in developmental, he's like, you have everything. You're ready to be like a giant superstar. And he's like, please get a six-pack. Just like, don't let them do this to you because they will.
Right. And that's okay. Well, that's obviously the gigantic. I don't even want to say double-edged sword. That's the big, I guess, conundrum of our business. Like, I complain about how fat I am every day.
Every day.
Legit.
I will test it.
You hear it.
Many will test it.
Like, oh, I'm fat. Oh, God, blah, blah, blah.
And I'm sitting here with this Gutsky going, shut the fuck up.
I gotta, but the thing is like, I can't possibly work out any harder. Like, I'm not going to be any more over if I have a six-pack. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, but still, like, it's been ingrained. It's been beaten into our conscience that this is pro wrestling and you have to be gigantic and 300 pounds with a six-pack, because that's what Vince McMahon likes.
Well, not beaten into because I believe... And I believe fun-loving barrel chest Colt Cabana is exactly what a wrestler.
Well, hey, I like my heels barrel chested with with a ton of hair. But what I'm saying is, that's the perception that's been beaten into us. Is I get it all the time. I was just doing media in Connecticut, and the guy who came up to mic me for the TV show goes, "Hey, don't take any offense to this, but you guys are getting smaller and smaller every year." And I didn't miss a beat. I slapped him on the shoulder and I went, "Don't worry about it, man. You guys who mic me up for these shows, you get uglier and stupid every way." And he looked at me and he got offended.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I didn't mean anything by it." And I was like, "Well, I didn't mean anything by it either. You are uglier and fatter than like whatever I said."
Yeah.
And he didn't understand like why I would I don't take it personally, but you come at me with something like that,
Sure.
I'm gonna come at you. But but who's to say? Like, who's to say if you got shredded up? you would have, you would have done better. You wouldn't have gotten released, or you know what I mean. Like it's the big unknown. Look at Brodus Clay. He's not shredded. You know what I mean. I'm not shredded. I think everybody kind of deep down wishes they look like John Cena, but like this is me and this is my body, and to hell with it.
Does John Cena say he's like fat? Do you?
No.
Never. He's never like, oh.
No.
Like, oh, my abs.
The refrigerator on his bus is loaded with chunky monkey, let me tell you.
Have you ever seen him in low self moments?
No. Like, not like body-wise like me and you. Not like I'm eating this ice cream and I'm so sad about it, but it tastes so good. It's so good. No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
He's a lucky son of a bitch. That's all it is. He's fortunate. He can eat whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah. So, I don't know if that's regret or it's... I go back and forth. I'm like, every day it's like, man, I just, let's go. Let's do it. And then the next day I'm like, I have to enjoy my life. I can't live by, and I've done it before. And when I did it, I didn't look that good. Like, when I trained like an
I've been there. Yeah, I've been there. You no carbs, strict diet, hour cardio every day.
To live life.
No, it makes you miserable. It makes my joints hurt. You know what I mean? And then like I'll look back at a WrestleMania and I'll be like, I don't look that much different. And for the amount of effort I put in to like, no, that's not right.
But does that make me a worse pro wrestler?
I'm going to eat pizza. No, it doesn't make you a worse pro wrestler.
Sometimes I feel like, because I do obviously dedicate my life to wrestling, and sometimes, and there is guys out there, and Hero was a great example. Like, did that make him like he loved wrestling? We watched how much he loved wrestling on tapes, but then we saw, and we talked about that on the podcast, is how big he was, and it's like, well, do you not like pro wrestling? Obviously, because you're not in shape. And I'm not saying I'm not in shape, because we go to the gym and I train hard, and I don't eat like a fucking schmuck, but sometimes I'm like, well, man, I dedicate so many hours of the day to podcasting, YouTube, and creating, and coming up with this, and sewing my own outfits.
You're hustling,
and it's like, because I'm not in the gym an extra hour, I'm just there an hour instead of 2 hours. Does that make my dedication less in wrestling? I question that sometimes.
Of course you do, but I think obviously, and I'm completely biased. You're 100% dedicated. You recently. I was in Philly for the Comic-Con, and this is another hilarious aspect of our lives. Is you were in Philly, you were working for Chikara, and I was in Philly doing the Comic-Con, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. We're going to be able to go out and like grab a bite to eat, and like we're never in the same town, and now we're crossing paths, and no. And you were too busy and I was too busy, but you did something that I thought was remarkably awesome. As a wrestling fan, I can only imagine being afforded the opportunity to try to win this contest.
Yeah.
Tell me, I don't know if this is rehash or if this has been on the podcast. Like, tell me exactly what happened.
Well, it was Chris Gethard is a guy. He's a comedian in New York, and I love Chris Gethard's story. I met him doing that. Remember that I showed you that pilot I was Upchuck?
Yes.
Yeah, and so he was one of the guys, and he's a comedian in New York, and he had been slaying around. It's just, I thought we were, our paths were so parallel and similar. Was he had been slanging on the UCB circuit, the improv circuit, the acting circuit for 10 years, never made a break, never had anything, and had this cult little show in New York called the Chris Gethard Show, and eventually, much like myself, he got his own show on Comedy Central called Big Lake, produced by Will Ferrell and Adam McKay. That's supposed to be his big break,
Right.
Like, that's it. He's made it. Lasted 6 episodes. Nobody remembers it, and it was gone.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
He's back to square zero, and he doesn't give up. And now
that's such a square zero.
Well, no, it made sense to me.
I know it did.
I said I was on this other podcast, Jordan Jesse Go.
It's square one.
Yes.
All right.
And I called the Canadian Providences. And then people ripped on me. They're like, it's Province.
Right.
I was like, oh, whoops. Sounded like Providence in my head.
Providence is Rhode Island, whatever.
And so one thing that Chris Gethard had done, and we become friends like through that pilot, and just because we both like wrestling, and he loves wrestling. And one thing he had did without any really fanfare or anything, he knew. There's so many comedy fans, and I'm one of them. I'm a huge, big comedy nerd. He had brought out a young person that probably their lives haven't been affected or molded yet, and they have so much to go in their lives. And he flew them out to New York, and he brought them around the scene, and he hooked them up, and they hung out. And like, I thought, like, I do this probably 200 shows a year.
Yeah.
I take it for granted. It's awesome. I love it. But we do these shows, and to us, it's normal everyday life. To every single person here listening, they would love to take a part of that. And I've collected all these miles. I fly every, week. I'm not saying I'm a millionaire by any means, but I've been afforded to have these miles to fly people around and to get hotels, and I'm in these instances that people I think would love to be a part of.
Which is awesome. I don't mean to cut you off, but can I tell you how many flyer miles on every single airline that I have, or how many? I have 1 million Marriott points, and I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I don't use them.
Put up 1 million.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to write a will one day, and somebody's getting a shitload of Marriott points. Like,
Bring
it's like one of those things.
Of kids.
It's one of those things that you take for granted. That, like, I have all these. I probably could do the same thing. I could just start flying people around.
Yeah.
And, hey, you want to go to Russia? Sure, go.
I think to myself, I was like, I'm a charitable person, but I don't think I do enough charity, or I want to, or I don't have the time. And I'm thinking, what kind of charity can I do? And it's like, and not that this is charity work, but make it's for me, really, to make me feel good.
I think it's awesome. You had a contest, right?
Yeah, and I was just like, can you not afford wrestling tickets? Do you live in nowhere? Does wrestling not come near you? Let's take you to wrestling. And like, I mean, how many great memories do we have going somewhere different and wrestling different places? And I chose Brett Merritt from Indiana, or from outside of some bumblefuck Indiana, small little town. I think it was Anderson. And I was like, "Fuck it, let's bring you out." And I picked.
It wasn't actually Bumblefuck.
It might have been.
Yeah, I think there is actually a Bumblefuck Indiana.
Bumblefoot lives there.
Yeah.
And I brought, man, I brought him out, and But the thing is I hope to do this for everyone. It was a little nerve wracking, I think, for both of us. Because that is kind of weird, like...
That's a new experience.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I was, honestly, it's funny how you say that. I wasn't nervous for my match or anything, but I was a little nervous, like, fuck, what if this gets weird?
I had a weird little daydream that I was secretly crossing my fingers that you had picked a serial killer. And dude was going to be, like, off the wall, and oh, Jesus, and, this guy's dream was like, I'm in the big city, I'm in Philadelphia, and you just start killing people. Like, yeah, and you would have been responsible.
And you have a little smile on your face.
I would have pointed at you and, Nelson Munced you. Like, you killed all those people in Philadelphia.
That's why I did the YouTube. Was I wanted to get a. I think if you look at them, you could
You're profiling people.
Yeah.
Now, this one looks okay. That's the worst. That's the worst.
I guess
thing.
probably.
That's the worst thing you can possibly do.
Probably.
Berkowitz looked normal. Starkwood, they all look normal.
I don't know who these people are.
I know.
If you were like,
I have a strange fetish.
Rocky IV guy looked normal. If Drago looked normal, I would know that.
See, I don't even know his name.
Yeah.
I knew who you're talking about. You're like Rocky IV guy. I was like, oh, the Russian.
Yeah.
I didn't know his name.
Drago.
Still have never seen a Rocky.
Yeah, so I mean, I hope to do that, and like sometimes I feel upset, and here I'll throw this on you, not to throw this on you, and I'm sure everybody throws it on you. Sometimes I feel upset that I'm not famous enough that I could make a difference. And that's why, like, sometimes I want to be like, oh, Punk, will you sign this for this kid? Or, because I know that would make a difference. And I feel bad. I almost feel bad when my mom is like, yes, my son's a wrestler, and they're like, I have an autograph, and they're like, who the fuck is Colt Cabana? Not that my life, but that I can't make that person happy because they wouldn't know who I am, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm sure your mom's like, oh, my son's a pro wrestler.
And he's the best.
Right. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, who is it, John Cena?
Yeah.
What? Come on. No, I completely get that. No, I understand that because I think, I don't think a lot of people know this about me, is I tried to do the same thing. Like, especially when it comes to kids. I mean, I do a ton of Make-A-Wishes and all that stuff, and it's crazy to be able to make somebody else's day or life better because you scribbled your name on and it's not even your name. It's like this bizarre code name, and you scribbled it on a piece of paper, and like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and somebody's like stoked about it, I'll do that for kids, like, for all day long, all day long. And I think it's cool that you did that for somebody, I unfortunately regret that I wanted to go out to dinner. I thought it would have been cool. Like, if you're like, hey, let's go grab a bite to eat. And like, and then like I showed up and maybe, like, let's really blow this kid's mind, But,
and that's my thinking, is like, I brought this kid out, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh man, like, I know that's okay. But I know if Punk came out, wow, that would be great for this guy. And it's almost like and he had the greatest time, I think, just talking to me on the phone when I said, "Hey, you won." And but but it's still in my mind. I'm like, oh man, like it's not really going to be good unless world champion Punk or And so that's probably it's just something I got to get in my head.
I think you blew his mind. I think he got on a plane. You blew his mind.
Yeah.
Like
and I flew him first class too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
God damn, that is so cool.
So yeah, it was exciting, and I hope I can. I realize that and it's and we'll out Hawkins on this. Like Hawkins has your wrist tape from when he was a fan from Ring of Honor, and like you were just the Ring of Honor. We were just Ring of Honor dudes.
His story is bullshit, by the way.
Oh, but
his stories.
But he has your tape, and that meant the world. Like if I give somebody a piece of my tape, that could mean the world to a wrestling fan. And that's fun to realize.
Well, I have the same amount of stuff. So not the same amount, but I got a lot of the same trinkets like Cena has. I got the wristbands and I got the hat and the necklace, and it's nothing I would wear on television, but I get all that stuff, and when I put my shirt on, the merch guys leave it in the trainer's room, and so I have it all. And after every show, when I'm walking to my bus or walking outside or whatever, I have the hat and the necklace and whatever, and I'll walk up and I give the stuff out.
Life-changing.
But the amount of grown ass men, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I recently did this where there was this little kid who wanted my shirt, and I went to throw the shirt, and some guy ran by and swiped it, and in hindsight, I think everyone thought I was going after him because he took off. I got out of the ring and I jumped over the guardrail, and this guy was gone. Usain Bolt, just gone. He ran away, and I think everyone, including my security, was like, Punk's going to go after this guy and kill him. But I was just like, no, the hell with it. We were in a hockey arena, and the merch table was on the same level as us, and I could see it from the ring. I just walked up to the merch stand, I grabbed another shirt, and I gave it to the kid to make sure he got it, because this grown-ass man stole this kid's T-shirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's why I do everything I do, and I try to think about 13-year-old me and 12-year and 16-year-old me was ringside at WrestleMania 13, and everyone see,
Yep.
And so
has that ever been talked about on here?
People will tweet me every now and then going, I think I saw you on WrestleMania 13.
Oh, he's on there, ladies and gentlemen. WrestleMania 13 street fight between the LOD and the Nation of Domination.
Yeah, I get 4 legit punches in.
He throws not forearms, not fucking. He punches. Was it Animal?
Hawk.
He punches Hawk.
I think I killed him actually.
In the show. Jesus.
Sorry. Those were
it's better than raping him, I suppose.
Yes.
You punched him in the shoulder or something like that. But you were making contact, right?
I was such a wrestling nerd.
He could have turned around and killed you.
Probably. But I was so light, brother.
Like Crockett era Hawk would have turned around and just Mortal Kombat fatality.
I think he was hammered then.
He would have.
But not that when we were the same way, you and your LWF shit, and we were all just wrestlers at heart. That's all we wanted to do. And so not that I knew how to punch anyone, and I won't say that I really knew what I was doing until I was trained, but like you said, remember first days of training, if you told me to do a sunset flip, I get the mechanics of a sunset flip.
Right.
As opposed to people who have no clue. I get the mechanics of a punch.
Not everybody does, though.
Yeah, but
that's the thing.
My diehard, and I think here I am in the wrestling industry. I think I'm one of those people who does. So that's why I was so light with Hawk. But
because you knew that you were going to work him in the future, and he was going to be like, "Hey, I remember you from WrestleMania 13, kid. You were light. This is going to be an easy night. It's a night off. Thanks,
well,
brother.
I would have remembered it.
Thanks, brother. Fish handshake.
And so everything I do, I relate to as a wrestling fan, and I try to think back and also. And it's changed, too, because everything that now I do in my business and what I'm doing is I relate it to me, the person. Anything I do is only related to me. If I think it would be cool, that's why I loved listening to podcasts, and I knew that there was an outlet there for people who wanted to hear wrestlers talking to wrestlers. And, as me, the 32-year-old, but at the time probably the 29-year-old, that's what I loved as a person. So I then wanted to give that to those people. The YouTube shorts, that's what I love. The comedy, the Mystery Science 3000, that's what I love now. So what I give now is I try to relate with somebody like me, enjoy this, but also when I'm giving back to, kids or whatever, or whatever I'm doing, if I'm doing something fun, I want to say 17-year-old, 16-year-old, 15-year-old who's dying to get into wrestling and just loves everything about wrestling, would he love that also? So I think that's important too.
I think it's a hell of a perspective. I think I'm going to have to approach things with that in mind from now on. You're going to have to remind me of that.
You can, yeah. And sometimes I want to
I can be pretty salty sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I want to say to you, but
Oh, really?
No, but yes.
Give me an example.
I don't have an example.
I know, I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, but at the same time, I know what you go through, and it's brutal. So
It can be.
I sit back every time I see you frustrated. Like, let's at a Cubs game, and you're like, "Oh, they're all going to start coming, fuck," and it's like, I want to, come on, like, let them come. But I realize I haven't been in that situation, and I don't know. And I can only sit here and say that, I would take pictures with everyone, and I'd shake everyone's hand, and I'd get up, and I'd high-five everyone, and I'd start dancing with everyone, and take everyone home to my house, and take everyone out to dinner.
I was at a Pirates game last night. Pirates against the Twins at the PNC Park in Pittsburgh, right? Like, just I haven't had a day off this month yet. So instead of flying home, I took the bus home, stopped in Pittsburgh, made like a day of it. And we were walking to PNC Park. We walked like 10 miles that day. It was stupid. And I was we started playing this game where it was just like, okay, we'd put 5 minutes up on the timer on the iPhone and be like, in less than 5 minutes, somebody's going to crash their car or freak out and, yell, and it like clockwork, like every 5 minutes, you just constantly get busted. And some guy stopped and drove around the block and like parked and like got out. And like, it's funny to me like, how many fans approach me now and they're like, I know you I saw you don't got your headphones on, so I think it's okay to talk to you now, and I'm just like, all you got to do is be a normal person. This dude was just stoked, and he's just like, hey, I just saw you, I'm like a huge fan, and I'm shaking right now. Is there any way I can just get a picture with you? Like, what are you doing in town? I'm going to the game. Oh, cool, enjoy the game. A great experience. But I suppose we should probably wrap this up soon, and I want to say that the funniest thing, I think, and not the funniest thing, but off the top of my head, we're talking about getting spotted. Going to the gym with you, every time I go to the gym with you, wrestling, like, it'll legit be like a guy in a DX shirt will walk up to the both of us while we're working out, and they'll start the conversation like, hey, I don't mean to bug you. I'm a huge wrestling fan. And of course, I'm like, what's his name from, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I immediately start going, it's cool, buddy. It's cool, buddy. And he looks at me like, who the fuck? And he turns and goes, you're Colt Cabana. Like, it happens so often that I started to believe that, like, these are plants, like these are like improv guys, like these are comedy dudes that that I don't know. But I don't know. Like, it sounds completely corny, and you say you haven't experienced like what I have, but you have. You have, because I see it. I see people in the gym come up to you, and like, especially locally, they recognize you. And
we were riding our bikes once, and I just remember someone yells out, it was me and you, and just someone yells out, boom, boom. And I was like, oh, that's so funny.
That's awesome, right?
It's amazing. But when you say that, it's like, I love... Because, and I relate it back to like how I'm such a comedy nerd, and the guys that I like in comedy haven't, and you probably like this in the bands too, like with music, is the guys in comedy like that I really like are the underground guys, the ones, it's a nice story, they haven't made it, they're going to blow up, but you feel like you can relate to them, and if you see them, they wouldn't be mobbed, so you would have the opportunity to go up to them and talk to them, and I do feel like that's where I'm at, and that people think they can come up to me, and they can come up to me, and they can talk to me, and they won't have to worry about it. And they know that, like, we're all... someone told me, like, that I reminded them of, like, Kevin Smith had... I forgot who said this. Kevin Smith had, like, that online, like, community where it was like, and like that total underground online community of just his fans, and like he had a whole thing going. And I do, in a way, feel like I'm kind of like my fans are, and the people that get it and that know what's going on are kind of like that. And maybe we are a little like cooler than the other ones who like only know about the WWE YouTube channel, right? Like we have this thing going on, and
you're certainly more knowledgeable.
Yeah, knowledgeable, and you're on the end a little bit and on the inside, and so like it is like a little wink, like, hey, like we're we get it, all of us together, and it's a small group, but I'm very grateful, and I'm proud of that. I'm really proud of that.
I'm proud of that as well. I think this podcast rules. I listen to it every week when my iPad allows me to download it, and sometimes it goes on the fritz, and I miss a couple of them. But I always catch up on it. I know a ton of people who do. This is my way of wrapping this up because I think your podcast is awesome. I think you're awesome, and I've said this 1,000 times. Should you have a higher level of success? Sure, maybe, because I think you're one of the best things going. So obviously, I think you should be exposed to more people. But the fact that you've built this empire on your own is, I love that because it's punk rock. You did it yourself. And that's killer. Just keep doing it, and maybe next time you fly me first class to one of your shows. I'll come check it out.
Hold on. That's what you're like. You don't go first class. It is.
Yeah,
it is.
No, I do. I do now.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm very. I am proud of the podcast and what it's become, and I have said it's changed my life. Just for the idea that, and I've said this before, is that before. I would line up at the gimmick table, and obviously that's what I'm not, downgrading that. This is how I try to make a living, is selling T-shirts. And before, I would beg people to come, and I would, and I would be trying to hawk this $20 shirt. Please, hey, come, and scamming them into and I felt like a real scammer almost.
It's not a good word, scamming.
It would, but it's you get this free picture and
trying to sell your wares.
Yeah, but before, it just, even though I had a little recognition and I had a little people, read of me, probably didn't see me on WWE TV, but read that I was there. And now, true fans come out to the shows, and I know because of the podcast, and they come to me and they say, I love the podcast, and I have a little line. It's not big, but it's even if it's 30 people at, $20 a shirt. For that day, I can now live, and
right.
Whereas before it was a real struggle, and now I feel comfortable that even these 30 people, and I can only imagine, and I do have, one day it'll get to 100, and then it'll get to 200, and then it'll get to 500, and one day the vision will be bigger. But for now, it has, in just 100 episodes, it's really changed. It's changed everything. I think it's made me a happier person. I don't know. Although I don't think I think even when it's shitty times for me, I try to keep a good outlook.
I think you and I are the same in that respect. If you're bummed, go do something you like to do.
Right.
I don't think depression exists. I think it's just,
Yeah, Marty.
DeRosa. Yeah, DeRosa.
It's. I wouldn't even get into all that. Oh, we could, but
that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah.
That's literally somebody else's podcast.
Yeah. Well, my father has,
right,
clinical depression. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's. My mom always asked me, "Are you depressed? Are you depressed?" And she was worried as growing up as a child,
right?
Because she thought because my father was always depressed. That
were you like I am, and I won't be if you get me tickets to WrestleMania 13?
Leave me the fuck alone. I would go just why are you sleeping after school? I go, because I'm fucking tired. I woke up at 6. Leave me alone.
You're the laziest kid.
Well, but yeah, and I am totally happy, and when I get down, I just even watching a YouTube clip or a movie or talking to a friend or anything.
See, with my mom, it was, why do you have all these horror movie posters? Are you a serial killer?
Oh, it's you. Oh, God.
And I was like, no, I like horror movies.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Why are you 11 and have 7 tattoos?
Yeah. What's going on? I'm a pirate. What do you want?
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Oh, sorry, I can't wrap this up.
All right, we're wrapping this up. You're way too nice. You make me sick.
Sorry.
It's okay. Just try to get mean. That's your goal for the day. We're going to go to the gym or something. I want you to be mean to somebody.
Can I tell you my mean thing?
Yes.
When I'm mean?
Yes.
And I don't know if I mentioned this, but when you get off on an airplane, and
Are you talking about like when you jerk off on an airplane?
Yes, that's a whole different one.
Have you ever jerked off on an airplane?
No, I haven't.
Come on!
I haven't jerked off in weird places before.
All right. You ever have sex on an airplane?
No, please. Right. I barely had sex on my bed.
Hand jiggity? Come on, what's something?
I mean, I played with myself, I think.
All right. We have a winner. He just played with himself on an international flight, I'm sure.
Not to completion, though.
I'm sure. It's kind of hard.
When you get off on an airplane, you know how you have to let the people in front of you go out.
Yeah.
I think it's a rule. Like you can't go past people. You have to, it's a system.
Yeah.
And when I'm ready to get out and they try to walk by me in the aisle, I get mean. And I throw my shoulder out and I hit him and I try to body check him. It's a game I play. I try to check him on the ground and I try to hurt them as I'm going up to grab my bags because I believe in order and I believe in a system. Yeah, I believe in a system. And when they try to defy that, that's when I get mean and I get really salty and I try to hurt people that won't be nice. So,
Colt Cabana,
yeah.
he likes to hurt people.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was your show. Hopefully, I didn't shit the bed too much. I was legitimately more nervous than I have been in quite some time. It's not every day you do that, and I think Colt, the quality of his show is always top notch, and I certainly didn't want to, I mean, God forbid I get somebody on iTunes that says the show sucked and it was because of me, and it was because I didn't take a picture with them when I was at a funeral or something like that. But Colt Cabana, gotta love him. 100 episodes of The Art of Wrestling, hell of a milestone. And truth be told, the only reason I really did this is because from now on, I want everybody to refer to me as 2-100. Suck it, Cliff Compton. And before we go, we got some plugs and
Upcoming events.
all right, everybody, don't forget, you have to go to coltmerch.com and buy a whole bunch of stuff. You can go to cmpunk.com and contribute absolutely nothing to that website. You can follow Colt Cabana on Twitter, @Colt Cabana. You can follow myself. I don't have enough followers yet, @CMPunk. If you need anything from Colt, specifically if you want to give him money for wrestling, to book him, email him at coltwrestling@gmail.com. I don't think I've ever emailed him in my life. He also has a P.O. box. You got snail mail, you want to send him your dirty underwear. P.O. box address is on the front of WeLoveColt.com. So go there. I'm way too lazy to read it off to you right now. Colt Cabana does a web series every Monday while I'm slaving away in various cities. It's called CreativeHasNothingForYou.com. You can check it out there. He also has a Facebook, which I don't. And can I say I don't have a Facebook or a YouTube page or a MySpace or a Spacebook or MyFace or anything, but Colt Cabana does, and you need to go like it. I think that's what you do. Facebook.com/AOW podcast. Go like it. Colt Cabana is a busy, busy man. Friday, June 22nd, Berwyn, Illinois, AAWrestling.com. He'll be there. You should too. Saturday, June 23rd, he's off to Union City, Tennessee for NWA Warriors of Wrestling. I picture the entire federation being nothing but Ultimate Warriors now. Thursday, June 28th, Ybor City, Florida for EvolveWrestling.com. Check them out at EvolveWrestling.com. Friday, June 29th, also EvolveWrestling.com. Will be in St. Petersburg, Florida, because the ST doesn't stand for Saint anymore. It's an abbreviation for seat. Saturday, June 30th, San Juan, Puerto Rico. He's going to the island, ladies and gentlemen. He's looking for Invader. PRWA. Colt Cabana will be there live and in living color. Friday, July 6th, Taylor, Michigan. JuggaloWrestling.com. Check it out if you're a juggalo. Saturday, July 7th, Hopkins, Minnesota for Steel Domain Wrestling. Check it out at SteelDomainWrestling.com. I hope he goes to Buffalo Wild Wings and puts his balls in a cup. Sunday, July 8th, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Just a hop, skip, and a jump if you're in the Chicagoland area. It's JuggaloWrestling.com. Check it out. Friday, July 13th, Waterloo, Iowa. ImpactProWrestling.com. Saturday, July 14th, he's in LaSalle, Illinois, my old stomping grounds for Dreamwave Pro Wrestling. You can check them out at DreamWaveWrestling.com. They are not pros, apparently. Saturday, July 21st, Kansas City, Kansas, MetroWrestling.com. Friday, July 27th, live on iPay-Per-View, Charlestown, Indiana, $5 wrestling. I can only hope it's in the barn we used to spend many Saturday nights in. Saturday, July 28th, Long Island, New York, FWEWrestling.com. And Sunday, July 29th, live Art of Wrestling podcast for free at Challengers Comics in Chicago, Illinois, right before the Dragon Gate USA show. Do not bring me cases of Pepsi. This has been the Art of Wrestling for CM Punk. I am CM Punk. Thanks.
Hello, Colt Cabana. It's Yoshitatsu. Congratulations of your Art of Wrestling 100 episode.